Looking to buy, sell, or grow your business to position it for a sale? As the owner and managing partner of Sun Acquisitions, Domenic Rinaldi has personally been involved in over 300 M&A transactions. He has seen and done it all, consulting with large and small businesses across a broad range of industries. On M&A Unplugged, he'll interview buyers, sellers, and their advisors about their experiences scaling, selling, and acquiring businesses. On every episode, you will get key learnings, but most importantly, you will be better prepared for your own acquisition or sale. This is M&A Unplugged with your host, Domenic Rinaldi.
Hello, M&A Unplugged community, and welcome to a special Memorial Day week episode. We thought we'd switch it up a little bit here. I did an interview with the Nice Guys on Business probably 7-8 months ago when we first had started our show, and we're 50 episodes in now. It's been a tremendous ride. Really have appreciated all of the guests that have taken the time to be on the show. All of the listeners, the feedback that we've gotten has been tremendous. We appreciate all the great reviews. And I did this interview with Doug Sandler, who is the host of the Nice Guys on Business. And if you don't know the Nice Guys on Business, you should definitely hop over there and check out that podcast. Doug Sandler and Strickland Bonner do a great job. They have tremendous following. They always have great guests across a broad range of skills and talents and backgrounds. It's really a tremendous podcast. And Doug and Strickland actually helped me launch M&A Unplugged. They have another business called Turnkey Podcasting that helps people get into the podcasting world. And so thought we would air the episode where I was on Nice Guys on Business. Certainly things have changed since that time, but we'll get back to deals being the way they were. We'll get through this crisis and we'll get back to better days. I'm wishing you and your families a happy and healthy Memorial Day, and hope you enjoy this special episode.
Need an education on how to grow your business? The Nice Guys are here to help. Learn about great customer service, networking, and how just being nice can help you prosper. Now, here are your hosts, Doug Sandler and Strickland Bonner.
Today, we are totally in the zone, in the Nice Guy zone today. Have you ever dreamed about selling your business or thought about expanding your business through the acquisition of another? Talk about a potential windfall of opportunity here. Well, today, my good buddy and Turnkey podcast client, oh my gosh, that is a great cross-section of someone to have on the show, Domenic Rinaldi. He will make a really potentially intimidating subject sound totally doable for you. So Domenic is the owner and managing partner of Sun Acquisitions and new host, hold on a second, let me ring this. Host of the M&A Unplugged podcast. I'm excited. He shares his stories, lessons, and the how-tos of everything M&A on the show. But this dude, he's legit. Welcome, Domenic, to the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Doug, thanks. Really appreciate being here. And when you talked about the podcast, it's been a bit of a journey getting there. And thanks to you and the folks at Turnkey, you made it so awesome. And we're launched, and I can't sing your praises enough.
I very much appreciate that. But let's not turn this into a turnkey commercial, okay? Because I know I will have an opportunity to do that at every step of the way, and I don't want to do that. So what's so cool about what you do is I thought this was a hugely, really, really overwhelming, almost like the business equivalent of a spreadsheet to me. So it was like, I don't want to know about it. I only thought this was for big, huge companies. I had no idea that M&A, mergers and acquisitions, was something that even smaller businesses could get in tune to. So maybe just share a little bit about why this is something that's in your world, how this even started for you, and share why this isn't one of those things that's only for billion-dollar companies that are out there.
Yeah, those are two really good questions. So let me take the why first, Doug. The why is I was a potential buyer of a business, and so I go back to 2004, early 2005. And I was in transition and looking for the next thing to do. And I had been in corporate America and been in executive management for a long time, and knew that I really wanted to do my own thing. So I went out looking for the next opportunity. And I wound up buying this business, this mergers and acquisitions business, Sun Acquisitions. And if you have any buyers in the audience listening, I was in their shoes. I kind of looked at the universe and ultimately decided to buy something where I could help other people do transactions. The second part of your question is, it's for everybody. If you own a business, typically the statistics are that your business is within your top three assets. For many people, it is their single largest asset.
Mm-hmm.
And so if it's your largest asset or even top three, knowing the value of the business, understanding what the potential exit is of a business is critically important. And it's not only important the day you decide to sell, you should run your business every day as though you're going to sell it. And if you do that, you're going to maximize value. You're always going to understand, what your asset is worth, which puts you in a position of knowledge and leverage.
So what does that look like? Because if we have somebody in our community, so for you, I think if I remember correctly, your ideal sweet spot of a client is a company that's doing between $2 and $30 million, or worth between $2 and $30 million.
That's correct.
Okay, so how does somebody even begin to value what their business is? And I don't need you to go through like here's every step of the way, but just in a nutshell, how does somebody even know how much the value of their business is?
So there's lots of professionals out there that specialize in valuing a business. And it's beyond the numbers. And so without getting in the details, the numbers are important and they inform the advisor on what the business is doing historically and presently and what it might do in the future. But just as important as the numbers is, what are the key value drivers of a business? So, for example, are you as the owner the business?
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that is, do all roads lead to you to get stuff done? Or do you have a self-managing business? And you can imagine if the numbers are the same and you have a business where all roads lead to the owner and nothing can get done without their decision making, or they're the key salesperson, versus, again, the numbers are the same and the business is self-managing, that business that's self-managing is going to be worth a lot more than the business where the owner is really the bottleneck to everything.
And I come back to sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I just want to put some level of relatability to that, is that I owned a DJ business and I've had it since the mid 80s. And as DJ Doug, the business would not continue without me, not because I think I'm so cool, but because people were hiring me, and I never put myself in a position, unfortunately, or maybe I thought it was fortunately, but it's unfortunately, I never put myself in a position to have someone else be able to not only do the selling, but do the act also. So it didn't have to be DJ Doug, but could have been, another DJ or a series of other DJs that are out there. So I think I probably made a huge mistake over the 30 years in creating this business that never really had any, I don't want to say it didn't have any value. It created a great cash flow for me, but that was just about it. When I decided at some point in my recent past, within the last 6 years, that I'm going to let this business go, there was no value to it because you remove me from it and it's worthless.
Yeah. So it's the difference between a lifestyle business, which is perfectly fine, right? I mean, a lot of people just want a lifestyle business. So if your goal and your objective is not to have something of value that you can resell later on, okay, so be it. But if you own a business and you want to someday monetize all the hard work and effort and goodwill and brand recognition that you've built up, it's important to run that business so it can be turned over to new owners. And there's many things that go into that that ultimately create value for you as the owner of that business.
So tell me a little bit about what some of those things are. So what creates value within a business? Contracts that you have for future business coming in, assets that the business owns. What's the stuff that's got value?
Yeah, all of the above, right? So we talked about the owner not being the business. That clearly is key. revenue and how you get the revenue and the trajectory and trend of the revenue. So do you have to go out and make a new sale every time, or is there some terminal value to your clients? Do you have recurring revenues in your business? As you can imagine, a business where you have to go out and get the next client every time is less valuable than when you build a business where there's recurring revenue.
Yeah.
And so, there's a good example. How you run the operations of your business. Do you have operations manuals? Is there a really sort of a roadmap for people to follow?
Yeah.
So you don't need to be there. And thinking forward, if you want it to be sellable at some point in the future, do the new owners have the roadmap?
I love the idea of of where you head with. It sounds like every time you bring on a new client, it's almost like you have to be part soothsayer, part psychologist, part handholder. It's almost like you're the expert in this case, and you're taking a business that knows how to do their business really well, but you become an extremely trusted advisor in this merger or acquisition process. Does that sound fair?
We hope. We hope that's the case. And Doug, in a perfect scenario, prospective clients are coming to us a couple of years before they're ready to sell, because that gives us an opportunity to work with them on all of these things. And by the way, we only hit on a few, but there's probably 12 to 15 areas that every business should be focused on that will maximize the value of their business. And so the worst call I get is an owner of a business who says, okay, I woke up this morning and I decided to sell. Okay, what have you done? And invariably, they haven't done a lot. I think the statistics are that only 20 to 25% of all business owners actually prepare their business for sale. So think about that. Think about how much money owners of businesses are leaving on the table by not doing the proper preparation.
Yeah, that gets to be pretty ugly. If you're not doing the prep, then you can't be ready for the outcome. All of the stuff that Domenic is talking about, if you want to get some hardcore facts about what he does, how he does it, it's available on his website, which is sonacquisitions.com. We'll make sure we put a link in the show notes to his website. So let me get back into finding some stuff out for those that might be in our community that may be interested in selling their business, or just want to get some more idea on how to even value their business or what their business is valued. What are the kind of questions that someone needs to ask themselves if they feel like they could be ready, or they're thinking about getting ready to sell? I mean, you said you got to start a couple of years in advance. I mean, ideally that would be a really good situation for somebody to come to you having already done the homework. So what are some of the questions that they have to ask themselves to see if they feel like they're ready to do this?
Yeah, so the place that I always start with clients is, are you emotionally ready, and are you financially ready? So let's take the emotional piece first. Why is now potentially the right time to sell? Are you just curious, or would you like to dip your toes in the water, or do you envision the next thing that you're going to go do? For example, maybe you're at retirement age and you have a couple of grandkids and you have a second home, and your vision is you want to sell this business, retire, and spend time with your grandkids doing whatever it is that you do. When I talk to owners who can describe for me that next phase, I know that they're mentally walking down the path to selling. They envision the next phase. Conversely, when I talk to owners who can't really spell out what they're going to go do next, I always worry. And I worry because if they wind up selling the business, even if they get the number that they were hoping to get, there's a high likelihood that they're going to feel remorseful. That they don't have the next thing to do, and they're sort of lost. And I've talked to a fair number of owners that are in that situation. They sold the business. They weren't unhappy with the financial outcome, but they didn't realize that they didn't know what to do next. And they're kind of lost without their business. So they might have spent 20, 30 years in that business, and it was really a big part of who they were.
Is sometimes one of the goals that somebody wants to sell their business to take the cash out of the business, but stay working within the business? So I guess they would need to look for an owner or a buyer for their business that would be interested in keeping them on as a management consultant, I guess.
Yeah, and there's many ways to do that, Doug. You could sell the business outright. A good example that I have from a transaction that we did a number of years ago was for a very large paving company, and the owner of that business really wanted to get all of his chips off the table, meaning he wanted to sell 100% of the business, but he was fine sticking around in some sort of business development and sales capacity. We sold the business for him. He wound up working for the new owners under, I think, what was a 1-year employment agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And 6 years later, he was still there selling, doing business. He was so happy. He had given up all of the day-to-day responsibilities, and he was doing what he loved, and he was able to take money off the table, which he was very happy about. There are also scenarios where people might look to sell a portion of their business. So they want to, in our terms, we call that a recapitalization. So you're selling a portion of your business. You're bringing in an investor. You might sell a minority position or a majority position, and you stay on in some sort of management or executive capacity and continue to, operate the business. And so either of those scenarios are possible.
So again, if you want to get more information, Nice Guy community, just about are you ready? Is this something that you're thinking about? What the questions that you need to ask yourself, or just want to find out about how Domenic's business runs? It's sunacquisitions.com. Again, we'll put a link in the show notes. I want to head over to the podcast for a second, M&A Unplugged. And again, if you have not checked out the podcast yet, Domenic is not only a client of ours, but he's also a sponsor of the Nice Guys on Business. So you'll be sure to hear a lot of the plugs for his show over the upcoming months. But I've listened to the 2 episodes that have aired so far, and I think I've actually listened to a couple of that are in the process of being edited right now. What's so cool about it is that you really do, I can tell in a number of these cases. Now, I don't know if all of these clients that you've had over the last, and you've done hundreds of transactions, but what's so great about it is you become friends with the people that you go through this process with. And I'm assuming that's just inherent to you're taking somebody's livelihood and you're unplugging them, or you're plugging them into something else in the case of an acquisition. So tell me about the relationship that you build with people over the term of them being a client of yours.
Well, it's a very intense process. And so when somebody decides to entrust their business to us, we're always so grateful and thankful because, like I said earlier, it's typically, if not their largest asset, in their top 3. So we never take that for granted. And there's really no repeatability to our business, right? Other than if we represent somebody on the buy side, and that's a whole separate practice that we operate where we represent buyers and they might make successive transactions. But on the sell side, it's typically a one and done. We sell their business and there's nothing really else to do with them. So our process, it typically lasts somewhere between 6 months on the very low end to maybe 18 months or 2 years. So we're with these clients in the process of selling their business, and it's pretty intense. A lot goes on. And as you can imagine, it can be a fairly emotional process. And we talk to our clients in some cases, 10, 12, 15, 20 times a day when we get in the middle of a negotiation or we're in due diligence. It gets very intense. There also might be periods where you don't talk for a while because you're marketing the business and there's nothing to do on a day in, day out basis. But my point being that for 6 to 18 months, you're really very tied to this client, and you're talking and meeting a lot. And then you sell the business, and it's sort of like withdrawals. All of a sudden,
right.
You're not talking to that client anymore every day. But I'm so thankful because over the years, we've been able to maintain friendships with so many of our clients after the sale of their business. And so while we don't get the pleasure of having long-term clients where we can work with them for 10, 15, 20 years, the thing that really has developed in our business is we wind up having personal friendships with them, which in some cases is more meaningful. And I can think of any number of clients that I really count now as personal friends where I get together with them on a very regular basis. So it's really been a really cool thing. Even though I don't get the terminal value and recurring revenue, I'm in that earlier category I described earlier. I have to go out and keep getting my folks, my advisors on my team need to keep going and getting the next client. But we've been able to enjoy some really nice relationships.
Yeah, but you're on the other side of that though, in that you get the clients, you build the relationship with them, but you also have the ability to help them through this. I mean, it is just amazing the process that you have, and you have a system. I'm assuming that although each one has its own specifics, there is a system in place that probably remains very much the same. I mean, you need the same or similar contracts, or is every scenario unique?
It's not. It's so interesting. One of the questions I often get from clients is, have you ever sold a business like mine? At this point in time, after 15 years and we're approaching 400 transactions, wow, we've sold businesses in almost every industry. So I can now say that, yes, we've done a transaction in your industry. But when I used to get that question early on, my answer was, no, we haven't. But let me explain. The process of selling a business, at least the proprietary process that we've built, is really the same, regardless if you have a manufacturing business, a distribution business, a healthcare business. The only two things that really change in a transaction are, how do you value that particular business, and where are you going to find the best buyers for that type of business? But outside of those two things, everything else in the process is very standard.
So tell me a little bit about the conversations that you get into on M&A Unplugged, your new podcast. I know it's new to you and they will continue to evolve, but what was the hope when you said that, hey, I'm going to launch this podcast?
We really started with the goal in mind of helping business owners maximize the value of either their sale or their acquisition. That's really the goal of M&A Unplugged. And the beauty of it is we're interviewing actual buyers and actual sellers. So they're bringing to the table their experiences, their firsthand accounts of what they've been through. And I'm hoping that that's really going to resonate with the audience, because it's not me just talking about, what happens in a transaction. It's actual clients sharing their information and their experiences.
And how is your experience so far with the podcast as a host? Do you get there's many in our audience that have speculated one day that they may have their own podcast. So talk about and you're somebody that you lead an organization, you have a bunch of people in your company, and you need to know how to talk. So you have a good way about it. But does that transfer? Did the same skill set transfer over to the podcast world?
For me, it's been really a tremendous transition, and fairly easy for me, because my career is nothing but asking owners of businesses questions all day long. I need to uncover where the value is in their business and what's going on. And so I ask questions, and my clients actually probably get very tired of it. But I really need to figure out what's happening in their business, and is it the right time? What's the best advice I can give them? So translating that over to the podcast has really been so much fun for me, because it's funny. My daughter, who actually listened to the first episode, said, "Dad, I listened to your episode and I felt like we were sitting at the dinner table," because I've been listening to this for 22 years. She goes, "It's so cool to hear you doing it in a podcast." And I have to say, podcasting has completely re-energized me. I'm passionate about my business. I love what I do. I love helping owners maximize the value of their sales or acquisitions. But the podcasting has really completely re-energized me, and it's been so much fun.
Well, how is that the case, though? Tell me a little bit about that, because I'm always curious about what has it done. Now, some people use it as a business development tool. Some people use it as a prospecting tool. Some people use it to create influence or to build a community. In your case, all of those things are possible, but I have never heard someone say this will also help you re-energize yourself about your business. How has it helped you?
It's creating all sorts of new connections for me. I'm talking to people that I would have never met otherwise. I'm hearing stories that while I know I kind of, I've really seen so much in my 15 years. I've seen almost every sort of transaction issue you can imagine, but it's so much fun to interview folks and hear them tell it from their perspective. And I'm reconnecting with people that I haven't spoken to in a long time. And so, because interviewing is second nature to me, it's just been so much fun to do it in this new medium.
So,
And, and quite frankly, I've gotten to meet people like you and Strickland and all sorts of other podcasters. And now I'm starting to be guest on other shows. And I'm really enjoying the process of learning so many new things and getting to meet so many new people.
So let me bring this up, and this is only because I have never thought about this until right now, and because you're in the business that you're in. Do you see podcasting potentially as a valuable as something that would add to the valuation of a business?
Oh, potentially, for sure. Now, what I'll caution that, going back to my earlier comment, you have to be careful that if you're the owner of that business, that podcast doesn't become so tied to you that if you walk away, what happens, right? So you have to do it in a thoughtful way so that podcast could be transitioned over to new owners. But I see the progression of this medium and how many people it's reaching.
Yeah.
I think for sure that it could add tremendous value.
Yeah, that's funny because, again, I had never thought about it until you were on the show today. And then the nature of your business led me to believe, well, okay, so hold on a second. If you got somebody within your organization to be a potential host of the show, maybe there is an opportunity for you to grow the value. And then if a new owner is coming and you're the only host, potentially offer that opportunity as a co-host to that new owner coming in. And all of a sudden, now you have another business and business development, lead generation, marketing tool that community builder, influence builder, all of those things that we talk about as reasons why to have a podcast. It's possible. It's very interesting. I really never thought about it until I had you on the show today.
Absolutely. And, you think about all of the other social media, posts and, there's pay-per-click and SEO optimization and writing blogs and video and all this other stuff, right? But so many other companies have already caught up to all of these other things.
Yeah.
Well, I think this medium is still so early stage that if you catch the wave early enough, you can really build some momentum for your business.
Agreed. So tell me a little bit about, as we kind of come to a little bit of a soft conclusion of our interview. I know that I've taken longer in my time with, I always say this will be about 15, 20 minutes. And then 30 minutes later, I find myself still talking because your subject matter is really fascinating. So, as much as technology has been really bumping up the way people do business, I know there's a lot of old school. This is a lot about relationship building. But tell me how technology has affected your business.
That's a great question. I'll give you a quick story. When I first acquired this business, the way to promote that a business was for sale was to take out ads in the sports section of the local papers. I kid you not.
Wow.
And every Friday, we would talk about what businesses were going to go in the ads. There's this business opportunities section in the back of the newspapers.
Yeah.
And we would talk about how many businesses we were going to promote and were we going to do an inline ad and all this sort of stuff. And then every Friday, we'd send copy over to our, we were doing a lot of advertising with the Chicago Tribune at the time. We'd call our ad rep and say, okay, here's what we're going to run. Here's the copy. Fast forward to today, the way you promote businesses is so different. It has changed so much. And also what's changed for us is we've gone up market. And so we've been for the last 5, 6, 7 years handling much bigger transactions, which probably, wouldn't have gotten marketed that way early on. But, the advent of marketing online on third-party websites, the technology that we use internally, our CRM systems, and some of the tracking tools that we have on our website, some of the software and the tracking mechanisms that we have. When I think about what's happened in my technology budget over the years, it's just exploded. That along with my social media, internet marketing budget. So a lot has changed.
Well, yeah, that's great. Again, I'd never even thought about that stuff changing as a part of technology. I thought you were such a relationship-based type of system and transactions. But it turns out, obviously, everything. It's not just the relationship; it's all of the back end stuff that could potentially be affected by technology.
Absolutely.
And I so appreciate, Domenic, you being on the show. Thank you for sharing your message and all that you're about. I mean, it's really cool. And Nice Guy Community, if you want to get more info just about Sun Acquisitions, again, just go over to his website at sunacquisitions.com. And just don't worry about the spelling. Just check the link in the show notes, and we'll make sure we put it in there. So, Domenic, thanks for being on the show and sharing what you're all about today.
Doug, thank you so much. Really appreciate you having me.
Thank you for joining us today on M&A Unplugged. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and recommend it wherever you get your podcasts. If you want more great information on how to scale, acquire, or sell a business, please visit our website at sunacquisitions.com.